Hello, welcome to Topper Machine. I'm Josh Topper. So today's job is that heavy turning job we've been talking about, and we're going to take that 8-inch solid and make stub shafts for this roller. Now this roller in the past we've made it multiple pieces where you take the shaft and then turn a disc, weld it on, and then insert it in the tube and weld it up. We've had failures of those over the years, and the very first roller, the original roller they had in the equipment, had a failure, so we copied that one exactly. Tested the material, everything, copied it exactly. A few months later it failed. So we made another one, changed the design a little bit, went to a better material. That one failed. And we've been getting about 6 months out of them. We're not really figuring out what's going on. So the next step now is a whole redesign where we're gonna make that end stub shaft completely out of solid, no welds, no nothing, just the weld where it gets welded into the tube, and see if that cures the problem. They've made a whole bunch of adjustments on the equipment there, and hopefully curing that, we'll see. So with that, we're gonna fix this one. And you're probably wondering why I'm outside. Well, that's so I have a little more room to maneuver and get the forklift around the saw. We'll bring the saw out here. And why am I dressed up like it's winter? It's April 15th, 2022. It is 25 degrees out here. Yesterday we had a lot of snow, and I just was over at the golf course today. They were going out on the course with the skid steer and the dump truck because it froze so hard last night that it's safe to drive on the golf course. That's crazy for April 15th. We shouldn't be seeing this. So with that, I'm gonna get this sawn off and get back in the shop where it's warm. Oh, one down, one to go. Not bad for an old worn out Johnson. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but I put that's one of my railroad track jacks. I've got 4 of those I keep with on the high rail truck for doing track work and that, and I keep them around the shop. They're handy. But it's just supporting the forklift, just so that the forks, if it wants to settle a little bit, doesn't throw off my saw. So just a little extra support there. So this one I see I had a little bit of blade wander. I don't think it's too bad, but I'll go ahead and just set up, try to recut, take a little of that off and true it up, but we're not that far off. I mean, maybe 1/8 of an inch. I mean, honestly, it's not really something to even get too concerned about on this. Well, I got the ends cut off. I am gonna go warm up now. I froze my balls off, and this is absolutely ridiculous for April. So Monday I will get back out here and we'll get the ends pulled out, and then we'll get over in the lathe and start turning on the stub shafts. Okay, well, it's Tuesday now, and it didn't work out for me to do this on Monday. Forgot I had my DOT physical. Go take my every 2-year physical so I can keep driving truck. And then today I got my random drug test, pee in the cup so I can keep driving truck. And so it's a little bit warmer today. Yesterday was still pretty freaking miserable, and we're in the 40s. Not happy about it, but we're gonna go ahead and get this end out, and we'll get this end out, and then we'll knock the other end out, and then we'll get over in the lathe and start making our stub shafts. Okay, so it's fighting me, which is good. It's in there, it's done properly. You want these to be fairly tight, and I see where it's fighting me. Let's see if I can wiggle it around. And it's going to be a challenge all around. Grab a hammer. There it goes. That sun is just right that I can't see what I'm doing. There we go. There it comes. There. Now the other side goes a lot better because we can push it out. So I'm just using a piece of bar stock, and we'll slide it in there and tap that sucker out. Okay, so I got it up here in the lathe. I reversed the jaws. The steady rest is only here to help me get it in the chuck. And because this is hot rolled, it is very uneven, so I'm not even going to worry about it, just kind of using it to get it in the chuck and get it as close as I can. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to face off, center drill, get our center in there, and then we're going to turn this portion of it down in order to fit into our roller, and then we can reverse it, put it in the jaws nice and straight, center drill, and do the rest of our work. Now, before anybody asks me, how did you get it in there, it wasn't easy. And before anybody else comments, you need a crane like Adam Booth or Curtis at Cutting Edge Engineering, I'm a step ahead of you all, and it's in the works. So I know it's probably kind of hard to see what it is, but this is a 2-ton Yale electric hoist with an electric trolley. And I'm in the works of trying to figure out how I'm going to build or either purchase a rolling gantry crane, a 2-ton gantry crane. So this it's in the works. Things are getting heavier and I'm getting older, and it just isn't working anymore. So time to move on to the next thing. All right, so we're gonna start at a pretty low RPM. I've got it set at 125 right now, and as you can see, it's not pretty, but we're just gonna clean it up. And actually, it's cutting pretty nice right there. A nice slow feed rate. And you don't really want to overdo your cuts when you're doing things like this. This is the shorter one of the two pieces, so the next one will be a lot longer, and it's going to be a lot trickier, but you just got to take your time, be careful, and kind of pay attention to what you're doing. So the way this thing's cleaning up, I'm half tempted to just grab my just center drill it right now and put my center in it, because everything's looking really good. But I'll finish this pass. I just got thinking about it, and with the outer round, so I measured the piece just to see where it is and how much I have to take off to get it to fit inside my roller tube tightly. And I'm worried that that amount of wobble is going to be too much. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move my steady rest down, and I'm going to try to get this thing lined up the best I can and true it back up for center. And then we'll go ahead and face it off and center drill it, and then we'll take our cleanup passes to get what'll fit inside the tube. So pretty much all I did there was just kind of set my rollers until everything kind of ran, you know, as close to true as I could get it. And it straightened it out some, but that hot rolled is not very true as far as round, but it gets me a lot closer. And so we'll get this cleaned up, get the center drill in there, and then we'll move the steady rest back over and take our cleanup cuts for the size we need to fit inside of our roller tube. Now we start the hole. All right, so now that I'm not using the steady rest, I got it centered, faced off, everything looks good. I'm gonna move the steady rest out of the way so that I can turn my surface that goes inside of our roller. I'm just gonna slide it right close to the chuck, but out of the way enough that it isn't gonna give us problems. And so that I don't bump it, I'm just gonna lock it down. And I'm also going to speed myself up to 180 RPM just to give myself a little more speed. right, so I'll come in, I'm gonna touch off, and I'm gonna take about 60, actually I'm gonna take 80 thou off of in the first cut, just to see where we are. Because I know I have a little more than that I can clean up. Now let's get a little coolant over here so that we don't dust ourselves too bad. All right, so our first pass did pretty good. Didn't completely clean up here, but we still got 55 thousandths to go, so we'll take that last 55. That all looks good. I touched off and it was just about at 0 on the readout, so we're pretty good. We'll just drizzle our coolant up there. I know that's not easy to see, but that is pretty much perfectly where I wanted to be. Now I'm going to let everybody in on a little secret. I made these plates a few years back for this exact purpose, for these big parts. And what I do is I just put my center in there and then just tighten it up. Tighten up your tailstock and actually loosen the chuck a little bit. Now, and this is how I get it bottomed out in my jaws. Just rotate it around. Now I know I'm bottomed out in my jaws and I should be running pretty true. And again, at this point, the steady rest is nothing more than a safety device. I don't even have it tight just because of that roughness of the material. So we'll get this side, this one faced off. And we don't need 100% cleanup on this because we're turning this end down to 1 15/16. So as long as we get the center cleaned up, that's all that matters. All right, so we got the first one faced, everything done, and center drilled. I'm gonna get this one out of there. I'm gonna throw the other one up, get that one done quick. I won't shoot that just to save a little time. And then get the steady rest out of here, get it back in the lathe, and then we'll start the heavy turning. All right, so I'm gonna start out at my 180 RPM, but I'm gonna set my feed rate at a D5, which is 18 thou per revolution. So I'm just D5. So I just want to first take this crust off, this ugliness, and just see how it goes. Okay, so that got pretty hot. I'm going to slow my feed rate down to the C5, which is 9 thou, 0.0093. But I'm going to speed up my spindle to 250. And then I'm going to put coolant on there and we're going to see how it goes. Okay, so I slowed my feed rate down to a 0.0093 feed per revolution, inches per revolution. I sped the spindle up to 250 for this next pass. I'm going to run coolant on this, and we're going to go 500 thou total depth of cut, and we'll see how she performs. Now just looking at it right off the bat, I think that might be a little more than we want to take, but we'll see what happens. Actually, she's doing pretty good. All right, so I gotta apologize there. My battery went dead and you missed all that. But we got a lot more to do. But I'll bring you in, I'll show these chips to you. These things are incredible. And we'll go ahead and just keep on roughing this down. We gotta take it down 8.5 inches of length down to, we're gonna go down to 5 to start with. That'll give us our stub shaft, and then we'll turn the end of that shaft down to that inch and 11/16 or 15/16, I think it is. So. Yeah, these things are incredible, aren't they? So let's keep turning. was pushing it a little hard on that last pass, and I actually slowed my feed rate down a little bit. And the chip isn't quite breaking as well as it was, but it's still making quite a chip. So I started to get a little chatter there and I didn't like it, so I'm going to actually back off my feed. So I'm not, back off the depth of cut. Not going to take a full 1/2 inch. We're going to back it off to about 3/8. And we'll see how that does for us. That seems a little better. Or not. We're starting to get a little chatter. I'm actually going to slow my spindle speed down a little bit. And that should get rid of our chatter. That seems better. I know you can see this haze here. This is all from the coolant. It's so hot. I'm generating so much heat in those chips. And I might actually slow down my feed rate just a little more to take a little of that chip load off, but it seems to be handling it just fine. Getting a little hazy in here. I just turned on the exhaust fan. I've got a 4000 CFM exhaust fan, and I'll go open the front door and it'll just pull this right out of here. But we'll just keep on turning. All right, I'm going to speed it back up to 250 now that we're getting down there in diameter. And it's actually cutting really well. I'll take it into a little more and we'll keep on cutting. I'd say the Lion is handling this stuff very well. This is the kind of stuff I would have done on the big Monarch, the 25N, and I replaced that with the Lion, and so far I'm very pleased with the way this thing's performing. Oh, there it is so far. We're down to about 5.5 inches on the overall. So we got it roughed down to the general size. We got some more turning to do, but right now I'm just running the coolant on it to try to cool it all off. This thing they generate a lot of heat when you do this, and actually it's not too bad right now, but we'll let that cool for a while, and then we'll finish this one up. Okay, so we're going to keep this at 500 RPM, but we're going to change our feed rate here to, I want to run around 10 thou per rev. We got a ways to go yet. And we got about 300 thou to take to get down to 2 inch, and then we are almost there. Well, let's get turning and get that down to our final size, and then we'll let her cool again, and then we'll finish that off and then do the rest of our work. All right, we're just over 2 inch, so we don't have far to go. I'll grab the micrometer and get an actual measurement. It's pretty hot, so we'll put the coolant back on it for a bit and cool her down. And we'll just try to take it in 2 passes to finish it off. Two inches right on the nuts. So we got to take it down to 1.968, and we're going to do that in 2 passes, so let's get turning. So I need to take 32 thousandths, so I'm going to take 15 in the first pass, and then we'll take 17 in the second, and that should get us there. 988. So I got to take another 20 thou. We'll check it here. Usually the very end isn't overly critical, so you can check your work right there. I know for a fact this shaft protrudes out of the bearing. And this one is 968, right on. And we'll turn it back into where we were. Let her go. And it's going to cut a little bit more in that first spot just because of the tool pressure, but don't worry about that. The rest of it should be good. And you see I stopped there. That's actually where our bearing race stops. That's what the drawing calls for. And then we're going to take the rest of this and we're just going to make a big radius out of it. I'll hand cut that in with a round insert. So now we're going to go ahead and start working on this radius. But I'm going to first take and face in there a ways. Get my end just right. And then I'm going to just hand carve it in, just so there's less material I have to remove with the round insert. And this doesn't need to be perfect. This is, like I said, I know the application, so this is kind of a, you know, make it work for what we're doing. And Well, I'm going to go ahead and get this one out of the lathe, get the other one up there, and I'll probably do a time-lapse video of that one, and then we'll get this roller assembled and out of here. Well, that went really well. The Lion handled this really nicely. If I had different inserts or, you know, just played around with my feeds and speeds more, it probably would have went a little quicker, but I think the tooling would have made a big difference if I had something a little bit bigger and better for this. Right now I'm just running what I have on the shelf as I order stuff in and tool this up. In fact, there's tooling coming today for a threading job. So it takes time to get these machines tooled up. And I can't even finish this job today because part of my roller stands over at the laser shop and they're cutting me out some new base plates, and I'm going to make a whole new roller assemblies, and one of them is going to be powered for actually rotating the rollers as I weld them. So I can't finish this until I get that back, and then I'll do a build on the drive system that I'm putting on there. But next week's video is going to be the oil change on the Lion. We are actually at the point where we need to change the oil. The break-in period was 30 to 60 days of running, and I'm actually about 35 days right now. We've done some hard turning, we've done some multiple different ways of running this and got it broke in good. So now it's time to change the oil. So that's next Friday's video. And if I get my roller stuff back, Tuesday we'll weld this together and get this done. But the whole video today was to get it turned out and show you the heavy turning. And I hope my camera angles and shots and the focus and everything was better this go around. I'm still learning this Nikon camera. I'm really liking what I'm seeing with it and being able to do. I got some different lenses so I can get some good shots. So I'm hoping this is working out better. The GoPro, I'm still learning that. I'm still playing with it a little bit here and there. And I've got using it more in the fashion for the high speed. It does 240 frames a second, so we're getting some really cool shots of the chip coming off the cutter. I'm playing with it that way, but I'm also gonna, once I get this camera figured out, the Nikon, I'll play more with the GoPro and start getting that figured out. So lots of fun stuff coming up. I got a lot of jobs coming up. Like I said, next week's video, we change the oil on the Lion. I've got some 2 feet of threading to do. 4.5 pitch on 2-inch rod. I might do a video on that. I got some slaughter stuff coming. There's all kinds of stuff coming. There's so much work here in the shop right now. It's kind of hard to shoot these videos. So I'll do the best I can. Stay with me. And until next time, get out in your shop and get it done right the first time.